It is really my privilege and my honor to introduce to you tonight our featured poet. Zachary Schomburg is the author of 4 books of poems, including most recently the Book of Joshua. His book, For George, Volume 1, won the Oregon Book Award in 2012. His other books of poetry include The Man Suit, 2007, and Scary, No Scary, 2009. His first novel, Man Mother, will be published by Featherproof Books in the late summer of 2017. He is the publisher of an independent poetry press, Octopus Books, from where he lives in Portland, Oregon. Zachary was born in Omaha, Nebraska, and raised in Iowa. He earned a BA from the College of Ozarks and a PhD in creative writing poetry from the University of Nebraska. A lot of great poets come out of the University of Nebraska. He has said of his work, which is known for its absurd, tender humor, mostly I wanted my poems to generate their own energy through confusion. We'll get an opportunity to hear that tonight then. I want my poems to confuse the reader, not a confusion in a cognitive or narrative sense, but in an emotional sense. Would you join with me in the Milwaukie Poetry Series in welcoming our featured poet, Zachary Schomburg?
All right. Look at you guys. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. All right, are you ready to be emotionally confused? If you aren't already, tonight's the night. The cow. I befriended the cow on my trip to the farm. The two of us were inseparable. I knew how to make it moo. But that was so many years ago. Whose farm even was that? I don't really remember. There's whole swaths of my life of which I can't even recall the tiniest things. One thing I think I do remember is how wise the cow was. It said things like, never be afraid and never give up. Hold on to hope and learn from your mistakes. Don't be so in love all the time. It gets in the way. Stop loving. Stop wanting to be loved. Stop loving yourself so much. Stop letting love into your life. Stop eating so much dairy. Congrats on your new job. Your new job is to sit behind a desk and click the metal clicker every time a new person walks in. In your excitement, you click the clicker on accident. But it's okay, you think. You just tell yourself to not click the clicker when the next person walks in. But no one else walks in. Hours go by. You think maybe someone is about to come in, so you click, forgetting that you weren't supposed to click for the next person. Now you're 2 clicks ahead. It's the end of the day. You go home, but you never go back. It's just not the job for you. I'm reading ahead. I'm not done with that's a really new poem. I don't know how to end that one. That's about halfway through. Will you write an ending for me and just pass it forward? We'll finish that one later. More about gravity. I remember this one planet, how it had these 2 people kissing on the lip of a big volcano. I used to watch them every night in the fuzzy lens of my telescope. Each time they'd get too excited and tip in. Come home, I said, alone in my room to no one, and no one ever did. I'll get on a llama. I'll get on a llama just to see where it takes me. Throwing my foot now over its spine. Oh no, just as I suspected. Right man for the job. I saw a man coming in the distance, but I couldn't make out who it was. He was coming on a horse. It'll all be over in just a few short hours, I said to my wife. And it sure was. Afterwards, we spent our entire lives crying. But the good thing about crying is you don't really have to pick a subject. As you might have, if there are any James Tate fans in here, the llama one was written after reading a lot of James Tate, who also writes poems like that, but writes poems with llamas in them too. Here's a few more that were written immediately after reading Memoir of the Hawk. The sunrise lasts forever. You're doing a great job lifting 5 people above your own head, the Mangler Jr. But you're just making everyone miss your father. He was so unnaturally strong. I remember once when you were a baby how he lifted 5 people while lifting you too. He was so kind too and beautiful. He had such beautiful hair and skin, and when he spoke, his tongue floated above the heads of everyone in the room, licking the evil away and freeing them from the evil that held them hostage in their own hearts. I wish you luck, young man. A novel about a house. I'm writing a novel about a house that has a dream of being a stand-up comedian. It takes a bus to LA, but everyone gets upset. The house takes up a whole row of seats. No one believes that the house will make it. There's nothing funny about it. It's a ranch. This one is called The Neighborhood is Changing. These are new poems. They're unpublished and they're just recently written. I'll read a couple more of these. And then I think I'll take you, it's such a luxury as a poet to be given a little bit of space to read from a few different series or a few different projects. So I'll give you a little tour through some old books and new things and other things. All right, here we go. A few more of these. The Neighborhood is Changing. Yesterday, my husband told me he felt like a musk ox. I didn't know what to say. Are you just going to sit there, he said. I don't know what to say, I said. That's just like you, he said. Do you feel like a musk ox right now? I said, trying. Would you ask a musk ox if he felt like a musk ox right now? He said. He makes a good point. It's rare to know a musk ox as smart as my husband. I looked out of the living room window and felt so defeated. Everything was changing. I didn't know who anybody was anymore. It was hard to know who even I was. It's clear we're in a real rut, I said. I've been reading about this very thing, he said. I think that's such a subtle joke on rut that I don't even know if I get it anymore. Solar eclipse over Mount Kinangop. I carried our sick baby in a fishbowl on a train through the mountains toward the doctor. Many years later, the nun next to me on the plane prayed I wouldn't die. And when I didn't die, I had to eat her. There's one of those emotionally confused ones, I'm hoping. The distance of loved ones. When I was a baby, I was kidnapped from my bassinet. My mother was soaking in the bathtub. She couldn't hear the intruder walk down the hallway and open my bedroom door because the hot water from the faucet was splashing into the tub. The hot water turned the cold water back into hot water. The suds were so high around her, she rubbed the suds on her legs, which were in the air. She started at her ankles, and then she moved the suds up over her knees, and then she moved her hands down into the hot water, where the suds stayed on the surface, and where her hands kept going down beneath the surface, down between her legs, and they stayed there. Her knees fell away to the sides of the tub, and her head fell all the way back. Then out came a little baby scream. Accident waiting to happen. It had been waiting there on the corner all day to happen in the smothered heat of the shade. A woman rode by on a bicycle with her baby covered in the basket when she noticed. "What are you waiting for?" she said. "To happen," said the accident, politely. "It's too hot for that," she said. "But what about the baby?" said the accident. "Oh no," said the woman. "What baby?" All right. Those are new poems. How are you guys doing tonight? Good. I'm so glad you're here. This is fun. This is a great little room. Oh, no. That's for talking, not listening. Thank you, though. All right, this is a really old poem. It's the first poem. This might have been even written, if I remember, at least a draft of it in another century. The Monster Hour. On the Monster Hour, there was this monster that used to come out and try to kill everybody in the audience. No one expected it, not even the producers who were told by the monster he would play a few blues tunes on the piano. The monster apologized after each show and asked for another chance. "I'm planning on telling a few jokes this time," he would say. But time after time, he'd break his word and try to kill everybody. The producers finally replaced him with a gorilla dressed in people clothes that came out and played a Wurlitzer. But they never changed the name of the show. It was always the Monster Hour. I don't think anybody understood then what a monster really was. That seems, I don't know why, but it seems timely somehow. It feels timely. This is a little tour. It feels awkward, but so that was from my first book called The Man Suit. I'll give you one of each. Invisible and not invisible. A woman gives birth to identical twins. One is named invisible, and the other is named not invisible. One you cannot see, and the other you can see. The one you cannot see is named invisible. The one you can see is named not invisible. She raises both of them in a house. Though they are both always at her side and always at each other's side, she grieves for the one you cannot see, invisible. Oh, invisible! Oh, invisible! She cries while looking at not invisible. After a while, it becomes difficult to tell them apart. All right. That's good enough. Scary, no scary. This one is Fjords, or Fjords. I like Fjords better. This isn't about fjords at all. There are a few fjords in it, but I just love that word so much. And I knew that if I titled this book Fjords, I'd get to say that word over and over again for the rest of my life. Are there anybody listen to Son House in here? All right. So this is, you might recognize a song called Death Letter Blues. And this is the prompt being pretty much the first line of his song, Death Letter Blues, has started this poem. Then it went a far different direction. Death Letter. I get a letter in the morning that said the woman I love is dead, that she's been trampled by elephants. I haven't seen her in years, but I think about her every time I make the bed, every time I set the table. I think about how perfect we would have been together. When I arrive at her house with flowers to pay my respects, I see her in the window dusting the sill. She isn't dead at all. She shows no signs of being trampled. Even her clothes are starched and pressed. I knock on the door and she opens it. You're not dead, I say. Who are you, she says. What do you mean? I say, it's me. But her eyes just squint at me as if I were microscopic. Weren't you trampled by elephants? I say. No, she says. There aren't even any elephants around here. When I walk away, flowers in my fist, I think about all the different kinds of death. I wish she would have been dead, just like the letter said. There's more truth in that kind of death. And I felt so much closer to her then. All right, I'll read one more from here. Nah, I won't. That's good. That's called Fjords. They came out in 2013. Or 12. So I rarely read from this, but because I've been given more than a 10-minute reading, which is great. I think I want to read a little bit from this. This is called the Book of Joshua, and it came out in 2014. And I don't read from this too often because it feels like one long poem. It's each of the first poem is called 1977. The last poem of the second of three sections is called 2050, which will be the year that I die if I'm average. And then the last poem is called, the last section is called Blood, which happens after death, or in this narrative sequence. So I never read from it because each one of the pieces don't feel complete at a reading, because it feels more like one poem. So I'm not going to read the whole thing. But I would like to maybe take you through the life of this character, who's unnamed, by letting you maybe pick out 4 or 5 years in sequence, and we'll just jump up through that life however you want to. Maybe if I can remember how it goes, I'll try to fill you in on what happens between those years. But the very basic storyline is that this unnamed character is in search of a character named Joshua, his long-lost love, which we kind of start to figure out throughout the book is a tape recorder that the main character kind of starts to speak into. All right, where should we start? 1977 is as early. Don't start in 2049 because we won't have anywhere to go because we want to move forward. So where should we start? 1979. I wanted to find you in that white boat on the blood in my nightmare, Joshua, but all the space around me was taken up with birds. There was no way to know if it was day or night. When I moved my arms and when I walked forward or backward or sideways, I knocked many birds to the frozen ground and then stepped on them and crushed their hollow bones. It felt like stepping on a bag of marbles. I didn't know how else to get anywhere. So I dug a hole into the side of the birds and made a cave. I slept like a million broken accordions. 92. I woke up with blood on my legs. God asked where the blood came from. From killing people, God, I said, even though I had never killed anyone. God put me in a cage with some starving horses. When I killed the horses, I drew your name on the walls, Joshua, in horse blood. This is your blood I drew. 2017. So we couldn't find Joshua on Earth, so we built, the character built a spaceship out of bird bones, and now we're on Mars looking for him. Mars felt familiar to me. I picked up a rock and threw it into the river, just like I used to do on Earth. This happened over and over again. I would just pick up a rock and throw it in the river, over and over. When you do something over and over again, it's as if it isn't being done at all. 2024, we're in the future, you guys. I wasn't sure when the baby was going to come out or where it would come out from, but I hoped it would happen while I slept. So I slept all day and all night for months. In my dreams, I was a bird sucked into the ocean during a storm, my papery wings slapping at the crashing waves. All right, let's do one more. 2033. So the character gets pregnant. It's hard to know how, but gives birth to his father. He gives birth to his father, and then he's kind of burdened by having to take care of his father. It rained. It rained a warm Mars rain for 2 months. It rained all over my father's face that whole time. I bent down to slide the water off his eyebrows with my fingers, but his face smeared like wet rust. I saw shiny metal underneath his eyebrow hair. "Do you know any jokes?" asked my father. "No," I said. "I don't know any jokes." This is after 2050. This is the section called Blood. And I think I'll end here. It'll be about a 12-minute or so poem, I think. White boat rocking, swans rocking, a cradle on a dirty loop. You, blue fingers, blue swans, unfolding suns, flood your slits. Where were you? I was calling. Your name, it's okay, it's okay. What makes a mother shaking the cradle, your throat fillies with milk? Our faces in the fat hard beneath a church. Blow me up, the dead. Happy birthday. Is anyone there? With you, I drink milk. I think I might be a kind of horse. Tick, tick, tick. Goodbye, severed head. So now we're where the last island way, under into the death, a return to the basics. I want inside you in a good way. You're living the dark around a miracle, around a circle of light. It's okay. It's okay. Is that a plane? Or if so, what is a plane? We become a becoming feeling. Our legs promise stupid motherhoods. I love being dead. With you, death, dead is, are, lying, flat and bright, red. I know you can hear me because we're family now. The ocean is a loud feeling. All your blood, I mean. What is the difference? Flat and bright, wings flapping, every splashing a horse, losing, heading into the field. What field? A mother calling us in it, our hind legs left behind, to wake holding. You have the wrong number, but there's only one number. I am number. I am number, filling myself with feeling less. Basic planetary exploration. A white balloon. You are a planet, a sinner, a line of boys holding hands, a grave parade. Is anyone else here? Anyone else? Mom? Mom? In the pits, in our bedroom, rusty tape recorders, a loop of voices, hours licking the walls, birds killing in our fists. You start breathing, me breathing, sound of a box and a tree. Our eye sockets, our islands. How to love is like dying through the sounds. Telephone for you. My mother, I peel endlessly. We come back with blood on our fangs. Mine's a strawberry I could hold for you for nothing. Do we even know enough to die? Who are you? What year is new? I am not. You are not me. The horse is dead. Underneath the bed, it grows the blood your white boat floats on. 2 babies we throw ourselves into. A white bed bad with sheets. You blink a whole planet. This is your blood. No one map. What use is eating out of my hand without becoming a creature? Tie together bird bones. Death comes, a series of choices. We tear at nothing. Who has heard my voice, me live? Who has heard this finger slice, the air? I am no liar. Does it mean I am somewhere? Because my mouth moves, I speak, I lie. I have no other choices. Here we both finally are, lying in a love our mouths move. Is it 1977? In the fat, hot waves, a white balloon at my wrist uncrushing and uncrushing your head. This is only further proof of your badness. This is only further proof of your badness. The sun rises on our fat. We burn like in half. Jammed between the sky and you, I stick my finger in the hole around you. Out comes a scream of purr. I hear a horse whinnying, each limb a yellow tooth. I stick this finger into the blood around you. Around the white boat. Your blood, our bodies are blood. Our bodies in the boat, our bodies are blood. In the boat, your blood. In the boat, my blood. Our bodies, our blood, your blood, my blood, your blood. We are here in the boat. Your blood, my blood, your blood. We are here in the boat, all dead and nothing. I'm dead, and you're dead, and I'm rocking, you asleep, all dead and nothing, all dead and silent. Our hands are open. Our eyes are open. Birds peck, we let them. Fill the boat, our blood. This is a bird. What is a bird? From the bottom of this grave, everything is a bird.
My blood, our bodies, our blood, your blood, my blood, your blood. We are here in the boat, your blood, my blood, your blood. We are here in the boat, all dead and nothing.
Your blood. Our bodies are blood. Our bodies in the boat, our bodies are blood. In the boat, your blood. In the boat, my blood. Our bodies, our blood, your blood, my blood, your blood. We are here. In the boat, your blood, my blood, your blood. We are here in the boat, all dead and nothing. I'm dead, and you're dead, and I'm rocking, you asleep, all dead and nothing, all dead and silent. Our hands are open. Our eyes are open. Birds peck. We let them. Fill the boat. Our blood. That is a bird. What is a bird? From the bottom of this grave, everything is a bird.
I'm dead, and you're dead, and I'm rocking you asleep.
I have no memory of a line of strangers all making their own choking signs. Patience gets you nowhere. Something's been humming this whole time. We can know silence. What have I gotten myself into? Space through her legs, unfolding, a telephone line dangling, a meteorite like a strawberry arcing on the horizon from your tired throat. It's okay. It's okay. There is a word for everything. You laugh blood, and I come alive, whinnying like I know what kind of creature I'd have become.
Blood. In the boat, my blood.
When you're in blood, you have a way to make friends disappear. There is nothing peopling all the air with things, me or you. What's the difference? We're both quiet inside. No one cares what we collect. The bird's blood, swim in blood, always swim at night. Not on the kind of planet with the kind of telephones that save you, just a loudspeaker that says I'm sorry and it's been wrong.
And I'm rocking you asleep.
You have to be good or there'll be proof. A bad x-ray for baby, just come out a slippery sheep like spilling milk all night with you. I have the most fun, how still I can stay. Batting, how still I can be, that my bones won't blur. Must we be filled up with more bodies to know hollowness? I mean, are you my father? Pregnancy is just another way to hide a body. Birthday cake lit the whole one night per murder, a word for just finding the thing you're looking for, how what all animals do naturally in a river. Remember when the telephone for you rang and you died a little bit answering it? It was so funny. I died a little. Boy, now. It's okay. It's okay. The candles would have The candles wouldn't have all lit right. I'm just trying to make it with my pang.
I'm dead, and you.
We are the same exact invisible, silent, broken tree, the same wall of birds, the same horse licking and shining, the same hole in the air. We have the same face in the funeral. We're whirring on the crests, two heads, always under the waves and always over and over, bobbing again. This boat rocks, always with new lightness. The calendars are made to start over, to start dumb. I've come to tell you I was born, a funeral flower, and here I am, dead. I will kill you.
Our bodies in the boat. Our bodies are blood.
And then the last two lines.
Your blood.
Good night, Joshua.
My blood.
Good night, Joshua.
Our bodies, our blood.
Thank you very much.
Zachary, would you be willing to take a few questions about your poetry, please?
I will take them. I will take them. Yes.
I don't know if it's coincidental since you selected a couple poems from different time periods, but the image of birds and bird bones kept reappearing. Is there a significance to that?
I feel like, many of us, probably some of you I know in here are poets who even, I've worked closely with writing poems, and we talk a lot about having our own word banks. My word bank is pretty small, I'm not especially fond of birds, meaning I'm fond of birds, but I'm not especially fond of them. They're just, I like birds, but I think I like the word bones. I like those two words together. And I think I probably used them once or twice years ago enough that they just kind of stayed in the word bank a little bit. So a lot of times I'll start a poem with a concept or a narrative or a prompt or a line, and then immediately get stuck. And then the word bank can become either a help or a bit of a crutch or a little bit of both. And a lot of times words like accordions or bird bones or horse or fjord. Yeah, just kind of, and a lot of those words at least got on that word bank because of their sound, I think, originally. But when I say bird bones, it's funny, I don't actually care or think about actual bird bones. It's just like words or an image that is pretty abstract for me. And I would never go to like do any work to actually learn about the science of bird bones or anything. It's just, it's good enough. Yeah.
Tony Hoagland had written an essay not too long ago about contemporary poetry and especially around surrealism. And one thing he pointed out was the idea of haplessness. That came up a lot. And I noticed in your poems there's a lot of like babies and infants and young people. Is haplessness something that you strive for? Is it something that you do intentionally? Is it something that happens that you see in your poems?
That's interesting. I'd never thought about that as a kind of intention, certainly, or trope, but I can see it. I recognize it for sure. It is something that is that happens when I write, or I write toward that for sure. It doesn't feel too intentional for me, but I think maybe haplessness sometimes might happen when I'm in a state writing a poem where I'm not trying too hard. And the narrative kind of comes out in a way that feels almost like maybe like the narrative of a children's book, where it's extremely simple, it's not trying too hard, it's not doing so much work, and somehow there's a kind of slowness or simpleness or a laziness that that feels really pure and beautiful to me, or naive, or even, and part of that I think is even reading. Now talking about the language of children's books would be that I have a lot of children's books in my library when I'm writing poems too, just to get words like baby and boy and sailboat and bird. I think these one-syllable words are just, I don't know, they do two things for me. They are so innocent and pure on one hand, like when we're reading them to a child, but also because of that maybe so capable of holding so much complexity or darkness on the other side of that too, because they're so innocent. Like when you put them in a situation that is a little bit nightmarish, they really feel really powerful, you know. I think it's also a reason why I don't use too many adjectives either. It's just boy. You know, the boy does this. Or,
do you have children?
No.
Are you going to have children?
I don't know.
You could be a father.
It's all right. Now we're done with the questions. I don't know. Sure.
I thought it was funny that you said the George, because I remember working with preschool kids, and they'd always question. I remember one word they were really questioning was antiques. They'd say, "No, that's antiques."
Antiques, yeah, that's the way it should be pronounced. This is called "A Mountain's Job is to Jet." It's true, I did get fired from the Globe factory. I put a beach in North Dakota and us on it, but then I put us in the waves, in a bed on the waviness. It's best to just put things where you think you want them. When I think of mountains, I think of beer and how clean everything can be. When I think of buoys, I think of the darkness. But I also think of seals. An island is the wrong symbol for loneliness. I never wanted 2 cats. Now I have nothing in cats. All right, one more? Or 2 more? All right.
I'm going to use a fancy word. Do you have a writing regime? Do you work a certain number of hours or time of day or something like that on some sort of regular basis? Or
I really don't. I don't. I do. writing is, I think, one of the things that I get interested in at different times, in terms of expressing myself. I've started drawing and painting and trying to make sounds and other kinds of ways. But I think poetry for me comes in spurts. It happens like 1 week at a time every few months. It's like these things are taking their turns. And so sometimes when it comes, a lot of times it's because I've read something or watched a movie that makes me want to write a poem, one poem. And that one poem will be a thing that kind of marks the beginning of a series or something like this. I really like this poem. I was so inspired to write this poem, and I did it in 5 or 10 minutes that, well, I should write 10 more of that. And then I can't wait for the next time, that day, to come around so I can write another one. So there'll be like 6 months sometimes that go by without writing a poem. But there will be 1 week that might go by where I write 20 pages of poetry or something. And then it's on to the next thing. But I've tried to do that thing where I say, all right, from 9 to 10 is poem time. And I end up just looking at Twitter or whatever. I can't do that. And it seems cruel or something. I don't know. I want it to happen when it wants to happen, I think. Yeah.
I'd like to ask you, just hearing you for the first time, what it feels like to me is that there is a pronounced meter. There's definitely a meter.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to ask you, and don't take this wrong, is the meter contrived or by design? And I would like to say that I think that it's more a design meter, because the one syllabic word, bone, blood, that lends itself to a type of meter that may or may not be contrived. And I want to get your thought, because the meter is pronounced.
That's a good question. It's something that's become more and more important to me recently. And maybe is probably evident from the last poem I read a little bit too. But there's nothing, when I think about meter, it doesn't feel, at least when I'm writing anything that's formal. I'm not counting syllables. But I have recently, in the book I'm writing now, of the first poems that I read to you, and then of the book of Joshua, are the 2 books that I've written while listening to music. So I'll listen to classical music or even metal or or ambient music, whatever it might be. That does 2 things. It creates this sort of music that's in my head that I'm writing to, but it's not deliberate as much as it just gets me kind of rocking back and forth. And so my syntax kind of matches some of the line, especially with metal, if anybody listens to that, or classical music. There's long 20-minute, 25-minute songs sometimes that often do a lot of looping and repeating. And so it's easy to get I want to stay in one melody for a long time not just for 4 minutes. So for that, I can kind of start to get into a groove and meditate a little bit, and then the words just kind of come with those rhythms. So for me, that's been helpful. Whereas before, I needed to write in absolute silence. And now with absolute silence, I'm blank. I can't get to move or something.
Would you put your hands together for Zachary?
Thank you very much.